All right, hey trader, TG Watkins here. It is February 1st when I'm recording this. Hope you guys are doing well. The first section of this is going to be the market update, market review for everyone out there on YouTube and at Simpler Trading. And then the second part down here is when I dive into all the individual names. Most of them we are trading, and a lot of them are other things that we need to go through and review them for the week and how we've been doing with them. All right, so just remember this is for educational purposes only. And then as far as this first section, I'm talking about Kevin O'Leary. He had a post, and I had this on my X page if you guys want to go check it out here. I thought it was kind of interesting, maybe a little bit of a hot take, but talking about DeepSeek and China and some of the things that are out there. If you guys remember, I forget the specific company right now, but back when they had their certain chips in government cell phones, that was kind of a big issue. This potentially could be something like that. I think we do need to be aware that they are a potential adversary, and limit and be careful how much stuff we actually bring in, especially with sensitive communications and technology and stuff like that. So go take a look at his quick little hot take on there. You can find him at his X page as well. Okay, so then the other thing is the market, I think, is resting as we are also navigating the whole news about DeepSeek, and now we have tariffs which are going to be instituted today. It's 25% on Canada and Mexico, and then I think also something on China. Now, the market obviously did not react favorably to this on Friday close. After, the market also ran up and double topped. So we've actually had a pretty good recovery since the DeepSeek pullback, which also makes sense because I was exactly looking for the market to pull back last week, or this last week from the prior video that I made. If you guys go back and look at that, I said, hey, we should be pulling back. And so beyond that, we're trying to see, is this a technical situation? Does the market really not like the tariffs? How is this going to impact the economy and all that kind of stuff? Now, first of all, I think a lot of this should be kind of baked in. We know that this is what Trump is about. Before he even got elected, he was talking about tariffs. He was talking about tariffs on China and on Canada and Mexico. And so now the fact that they're here, okay, maybe we actually have to deal with this since the chickens are coming home to roost. But we should all pretty much know what this is about and what's happening. So, maybe this is just kind of a news reaction. We also need to remember that a lot of times Trump is using this as a bargaining tool. So Canada and Mexico probably don't want to pay the 25% tariff, and so maybe that brings them to the table and maybe they can negotiate some stuff. And so maybe it doesn't happen, or maybe it happens at a different percentage or something like that. So this is a moving target. This is something we're going to have to just deal with and kind of go with the flow. But the other things that I wanted to show you guys about the market resting is, for now we are still over the daily 50. I know the Moxie indicator is below zero, so we are going to have to watch that and make sure this doesn't get worse. But we actually had a pretty good rebound after the DeepSeek drop. Now, as I said, I was expecting a pullback this week. I thought it was going to take 3 days leading up to the FOMC to do it, but instead they yanked the Band-Aid off and did it all in one day with that DeepSeek news. The other thing is, if we come back and we look here, if we go back and actually look at the market and whatnot, in just some other eras, there are lots of times where the market actually kind of takes some time. It has to, we don't just keep stair-stepping up like this. It actually takes some time. It'll kind of go up. It'll come up again, kind of pull back again, or maybe it comes up and pull back and pull back and pull back and pull back. Okay, so for now, this is reasonable. We don't really know what's going to be happening, how this is all going to be working out. But if we even look back in through here, I was kind of trying to find some sections earlier, but we can see in through here where the market, kind of came down and then, down and then down and then down. Yes, there was a bigger one, and it still took time for this to actually get up and over once it really wanted to get going. So you can kind of see in through here, there was another one where we had a little bit of a pullback, came up, and then look, it sat here for a little bit, then came up, and then a little bit rest, and then came up. So for now, it's okay. I know Friday kind of was uncomfortable, but we have to kind of roll the punches and still say, hey, the market is still actually up. We have to kind of see if it gets worse. And so as far as the issue of it getting worse, let me just jump ahead to XLP, because this is what I showed you guys, I think it was last week or so. And I said we should definitely expect a pullback in the market, but we don't want the pullback to get worse. And so if you look at XLP, basically here was the same pullback that the S&P did, and then you can see here was that rally up that both XLP and the S&P did. And so in my example from last week, this is where I said, hey, XLP is a good example. If this is a bad thing, then look, price is going to get underneath the hourly 50. The Moxie indicator is going to start trending below zero. We're going to get our Moxie price trigger, and then you're going to see that price continues to roll over and fail. So this is a good roadmap for what we need to be aware of if the market is not happy. But if we go back to where the SPX is and where we are currently, we're just kind of we're not there yet. You know, we still have the 8 over the 21, price is still over the 50, and, you know, for the hourly 50 is still actually in an uptrend. The Moxie indicator is above zero for now. This can change, but we need to just make sure that this actually holds. You know, it can move around a lot in here, you know, and I can even bring you back to when there was the, what was it, the debt ceiling crisis. I mean, look how long the market actually just chopped around and went sideways. So there is the potential that we're also just going to be in some chop, and maybe the market kind of needs to rest for a little bit. I'll show you guys when we look at breadth and all that, that will kind of also tell you a little bit about, hey, the market's probably just going to be resting for a little bit, and we just need to make sure it doesn't get worse. Okay, and then if we jump over to NVIDIA, you know, talking about the whole DeepSeek thing, you know, NVIDIA, of course, they're still going to be successful. They're still going to make money. They're still in high demand. But if this whole DeepSeek thing is, or if they've figured out ways to, you know, work around and come up with different models for AI that aren't as expensive or don't need all this stuff, you know, basically if they come up with a different wrapper on all this stuff, then, you know, NVIDIA is going to have a little bit of a target on its back, because the giant moat, or the amount that NVIDIA is ahead of the competition, is everybody else's opportunity. And so, of course, they have everybody clawing at them, trying to get their market share. And now that maybe some of that news has come out and disrupted things, yeah, the story that NVIDIA has and the dominance that they have may not exist, you know, in perpetuity. And so this really does look like a breakdown. So I would be really, really careful with NVIDIA if you still want to be bullish right here, right now. It does not look bullish to me, and I'd be cautious about this. However, everything else related to AI should actually be benefiting. So there's kind of the whole thing that if the cost of AI goes down, that's good. That's actually good for society. That's good for companies, because that means more people are actually going to use it. The rate of adoption is going to go up. The build out is still going to be necessary, even if it's cheaper and they can do it more inexpensively and do it with less electricity. All these things are good. So it might be bad for NVIDIA because, you know, they now have competition, but it's good for the rest of us because we're actually going to be able to use it more, and these tools that we want are actually going to be able to get rolled out and implemented more, and we will see more benefit from it. So I think the overall story of AI, you know, should be good, even if it's cheaper. So there's the SPY, there's the XOP, and if you look at the NASDAQ, let me kind of change this back so we don't have to go 10 years every time. And you can see same kind of deal. We tried having to move up, and you can actually see same kind of double top situation. You know, we had a nice recovery. It filled the gap. So this could also just be a gap fill, you know, basically a giant gap down like that and then move up just to fill it. And whether, you know, the tariff news came out or not, you know, this was likely to at least run into some resistance. So, you know, you just fill the gap, come up there, double top. Okay, we're still going to have to kind of take a break. So let this thing chill out, give it some time, see where we're going to go. And one more thing I just wanted to show you guys on the SPX. The Moxie crew is probably going to understand this a little bit more when I talk about this stuff. But also double top, you can see right here, double top. So it's going to be some natural resistance. But look at the gap between price and the moving average. So we ran right up into there, pushed all day long, and there was just this unfilled gap by the end of the day. So I'm looking at that, I'm like, that looked concerning. So we were going to have to fix that gap anyway. It just happened that news about the tariffs came out on Friday, that they're going to be implementing them today. And so it ran the market down. Now I know that the S&P, the SPY is down even lower. So again, we're going to have to kind of let the dust settle and see where this ends up, you know, going for the week. But from a technical standpoint, I'm not too surprised. You know, he came up here double topped. Yeah, of course, it's going to be some resistance. So we'll have to see where it goes from there. If you look at the IWM, and really if we look at the big picture, everything is still intact here. Nothing like monthly chart still looks great. You know, it's still over the monthly 10, doing just fine. You know, it got a little ahead of itself right there from the election, but other than that, it's right back down here. We still have the weekly 8 over the 21. It tested the weekly 50. All this is good. We just need to make sure that it doesn't start to roll over and go down. If this kind of wants to stay sideways for a while and then move up, that's fine. And if we look at the daily and the hourly chart, so far, this is also just fine. Prices run right into the daily 50. It pulled back into support for now. And we had a potential trampoline move, which for a day actually worked out, but okay, maybe it's not really ready to keep running. So as long as it kind of stays in this area, I'm going to be okay with that. What's not going to be good is if it starts to actually break down kind of below this area, or if the daily 50 continues to be resistance and it starts to roll over like that. That's going to make some problems, okay? But for now, I'm going to be optimistic. We're going to see how this works and just kind of keep an eye on it and make sure things keep going the way we want it. If you look at the Dow, it's been doing great. The financials have been doing great, but they could also use a bit of a break too. Look at this, double top, right up into resistance and also into the outer boundary. This was such a big move. It's only just now starting to touch its hourly 50 SMA. So it kind of makes sense that this could use a bit of a break. Now, not that this is going to run the market, but it kind of makes sense. You know, if the S&P just double topped and recovered its gap, and the Dow is double topping after a massive run and hasn't pulled back, but now it is, it kind of makes sense that maybe the market needs to rest and maybe needs to digest some of this news. And then if we look at the SMH, I do want to jump right to the monthly and weekly time frame on this, because when the DeepSeek news came out, again, it was like Monday, so we didn't know where these the candle bodies were going to end up. But you know, I did make a couple posts and I said, you know, if this sticks, this is not good, because now price is below the monthly 10 SMA and it's below the weekly 50 SMA. Now the week has gone on, things bounced, you know, it did recover, so we are still above these moving averages, but we're just kind of right there. So we do need to be a little bit cautious in through this area. I keep getting the dog coming through here. You know, we do need to be careful in this area and see, can it continue to hold these moving averages, or is this going to start to peel off? We just don't know that information right now. It did have a nice recovery. This is something I was talking about during the week, that this was such a big move. I could see just a technical bounce. And but right now we are still underneath moving averages, and we're gonna have to see if this starts to get worse or if it can recover and actually go up. So we're really kind of in that middle ground, but I would be very, very careful around here with the semis. It went from looking great to suddenly not looking great, and that's just how the market goes with new news, with new information. All right, so then let's take a look at breadth. So actually, if we come over here, let's see, it's this one, and this is also an indication of where, you know, probably the market needs to rest a little bit, because if you're seeing here, and if you look at the 20-day, look at that. It came basically to the top of its range. Totally makes sense. And when it gets up there, sure, it can oscillate for a while, but we should also expect that right there, 80% of names got over their 20-day SMA. And then, you know, that's kind of the top. It doesn't go that much further. And so at some point, you know, everything already bounced and recovered from our December pullback. And then if you look at the 50-day, well, look at that. So it did come up off the lows, but it probably needs to digest. In fact, you can kind of look kind of like that. You see here how it came up, had to digest a little bit, and then was able to go up a little bit further. Nice. And so we'll have to see, you know, here it kind of came up and recovered a little bit, came up, you know, kind of recovered, came up, digested. So we'll have to see. We're at a decent level. We can kind of go up or down. I'm going to lean towards up because, you know, things have been doing pretty well overall. And I think we're just at an area where things need to just digest for a little bit. Market doesn't keep going straight up. So there's the breadth. And then as far as the put call ratio, just not much to talk about. Yeah, there's really just not much there. It's been low for a very long time. And then the other thing is, if we talk about the UVIX, you know, are we going to be getting problematic with this? I will point out that there is a potential double bottom right there. We do have some divergence, and, you know, same thing here. We've got positive divergence here, and we are over the 15-minute 50. So if this does start to catch a footing and start to move up, yes, the market's going to be under pressure. It's going to look very similar to this. You can see here, double bottom, had a bit of a move up. We could get a little bit of a move up. Other than that, I don't see a trend yet, but yeah, if this thing wants to keep going, then yeah, the market's going to be under pressure. And basically the VIX is the same thing. You can see also has that double bottom. So we'll have to see how that kind of works out. Okay, so that is pretty much everything that I had for the first section as far as the market update. Remember, if you guys are interested, we're always running $7 trials for 30 days. Come on over to simplertrading.com/Moxie, and that's where you guys can get more information about me. You can sign up for our trading rooms. I'm on the mic every day and talk about this stuff and making a bunch of trades out there, and we're having a good time because, you know, this market is still pretty good. All right, guys? So for Moxie Crew, I'll see you in just a second.